Train the muscles, not the joints. Welcome back to Naturally Gallant Bodybuilding, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why some people don't reach their full potential in bodybuilding or lifting weights. Now, I think there's lots of things you can do in life. You don't necessarily have to do bodybuilding. If you're good at bodybuilding or not so good at bodybuilding, doesn't really matter to me. I don't care. Doesn't really mean you're a better person because your biceps are bigger or your legs are bigger or you're a little bit leaner. Like, who cares, really? In the end, let's take the ego out of it. But if we want to really ask ourselves the question of why you maybe are not getting as much muscle as you could, or maybe why you're not losing body fat the way you should, or whatever, there are a few obstacles in the way. There are a few obstacles that are possibly hindering you from accomplishing this. Now, one of these things is, and it's a big one, I think it's the biggest one, is that most people are afraid to find their own way. And now, I'm not talking about reinventing the wheel here. I'm not talking about trying to ride a bicycle, but doing it upside down. You're like a circus act, you know, laying on the concrete and having the bicycle in the air and spinning the wheels and wondering why you're not going anywhere. Well, I'm not asking you to be inventive like that. I mean, some people get a little bit too creative, and you see this in a lot of the gym memes, you know, where guys are doing just the stupidest stuff on the equipment and, you know, flailing their limbs all over the place and sometimes injuring people in the background in the process. But what I am saying is that it's okay for you to find out what works for you. And I talk about this when it comes down to range of motion. I talk about this when it comes down to your diet, and also when it comes down to the angle of attack. For instance, say you're doing arm curls and one person finds that keeping the elbows back, they're hitting their biceps much more. Another person, they bring their elbows forward a little bit and then they come up more and they can get more tension on that bicep, maybe because of some joint instability, maybe because of a previous injury, kind of like I have. You know, this may be a factor that you have to take into account when it comes down to finding your own way. And if you try to do things the normal way, the way that everybody is supposed to do it apparently, but it's not working for you, obviously you need to change something. And I find that a lot of people get really rigid in their thinking. They read a lot. They have a lot of concepts up here, but they're not realizing that these concepts are nothing more than thoughts, but they have nothing to do with reality. If you're following through with these concepts, but then the reality is showing you something different, the reality is the thing you got to pay attention to, not the concept. That means the concept is false for you in this particular circumstance. This mental illness that says, if I read about something, it's the same thing as doing something. And we all know that's not true. Driving a car is a much different experience than reading about it. And say you're from another planet and you don't even know what a car is, and you read about a car with a gas pedal and a steering wheel, you're going to have a lot of misunderstandings around what that paragraph or what that chapter about cars means, right? You're going to come here with a lot of misconceptions, and you're going to screw up a lot when it comes down to you getting into the driver's seat. So it's the same thing when it comes down to reading about training. You have to eventually go from thought to experience. And when you deepen your experience, then that experience will assist you with finding a deeper knowledge or a deeper way of doing things. So for instance, when you're doing an arm curl, say you're doing it the standard way in the internet, one arm at a time, rest at the bottom, one arm at a time, rest at the bottom, one arm at a time, rest at the bottom, one arm at a time, rest at the bottom. What I found was when I rested at the bottom, all the tension left my bicep. Then when I had to re-engage the bicep again, then my shoulder would activate, and sometimes it would move around a little bit, and then my forearm would activate, and then my bicep brachii would activate at some point. But I found that my forearms would die first, sometimes my shoulders would get a burn first, but my bicep wasn't getting activated. But then when I switched to an incline curl and I was back stretching the bicep, I found the bicep hit failure first, and when I externally rotated it, even more so, the bicep hit failure first. It wasn't the shoulder that was getting in the way. It wasn't the forearm necessarily that was getting in the way of getting my biceps to failure. And then my biceps grew. So this was one way that I found my own way of training. So this is the same thing with you. There's going to be all these different muscle groups that you're training in the body, and there's going to be subtleties in there that you will find that if you're not afraid to deviate from the collective knowledge, if you're not afraid to deviate just a little bit, just to see, okay, what angle is right for me? When you squat, you know, just ask yourself, should my feet be pointed outwards a little bit, or should they be straight forward? Should I be going all the way down? Should I be doing ass to the grass? Should I be doing 90-degree squats? Should I be doing parallel squats? Find out through experience. Just lower the weight and feel where that tension is. And once you feel that tension leave the legs, the hamstrings, and the butt, then you know that you have to not go down any lower and then come back up again. Now, again, for one person, it's going to be ass to the grass squat for this. Another person, it's going to be a 90-degree squat. You have to take these factors into account because everybody's different. So it's the same thing also when it comes down to the type of training program you use. Some people, they like the 2-day split. Some people like the 3-day split. Some people like the 4-day split. I found in general, a higher frequency program is better for natural bodybuilders, but that doesn't mean that you have to adhere to that because you might be different. And I hear from people all the time that have had different experiences. Some people, they do 10 or 15 sets for body part and they do it once a week and they get great gains. So if that's the case for you, then by all means stick to that. So this is a big factor. I find that a lot of people, they get stuck in saying, okay, this worked for somebody else, so I have to stick to that technique even though it's not working for me. Right? So if something's not working for you, change it up. This is the year to do it. This is the year. Make that your New Year's resolution, right? Just change things up. If it's not working for you, then change it up. Find a different way, find a different angle, find a different rep range, find a different technique, and then also apply this to your diet. If your diet is not helping you feel energetic, if your diet is not helping you feel that pump in the gym, or you're not feeling energy, your strength is not going up, you're not losing body fat, or you're not feeling like you're hitting the goals that you have, then don't be afraid to change the diet too. You might need to go to a fat and protein diet more so than a carb and protein diet, or vice versa. So these are the things that this is the biggest thing I found actually, was that people were not paying attention to their body or their experience. First and foremost, they were paying attention to what they read. And this is the biggest thing that gets in the way of people hitting their goals in bodybuilding. Because when you start to learn how to work with your experience and then increase your willpower and your intensity and your effort in that, that's what creates the results. It's that willpower, that passion, that effort, that fire, right? And when you are applying it with wisdom, then you're not going to break yourself in the process at the same time. So I hope this helps you out in your training. Thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com, and thanks a lot to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now.